We need to understand exactly what we're talking about. So have a look at this. The area of the plane that is relevant is this. This is the little two tails at the back of a plane. It's the horizontal stabilizer, the whole of it. And it moves in very small areas, just a matter of degrees up or down. And depending on which way it moves, it trims the plane nose up or nose down. And the pilots use that as a matter of, for the centre of gravity and for easier control of the aircraft. However, with the MAX, the way the engines are further forward and higher, then, well, that's where the problem happens. Because what invariably happens with all of this is the way when the plane sensed something was going wrong, that part of the back of the aircraft pushed the nose down. And the pilots were unable to do it because what had happened, of course, is this part was dominant. This part was pushing down the nose of the aircraft. Pilots are familiar with this concept. Les Abend, for example, is a former pilot. He joins me now from Jacksonville, Florida. Les, the concept of a runaway stabilizer, as it's known, is known to you and other pilots. Why then, in this case, wouldn't they have naturally realised, hang on, the nose is being pushed down, we're not doing it, that's what the problem?
Well, you ask a very good question, and because they didn't get that visceral clue of that trim wheel, which, Richard, you're very familiar with, of that trim wheel going around, so they thought it was another situation that they had to analyze. So it was very counterintuitive to them that the airplane was wanting to head for the ground, and in essence what was happening, the system that you described, it was essentially telling the pilots that it was going to stall. And every time they attempted to trim the airplane up, it would reset itself and continue the nose down situation.
Now, we know from the Lion Air, the previous day of the Lion Air flight, it was a jump seat rider, a pilot, that recognised it, or otherwise that plane would have gone down as well. Why would I guess I'm trying to understand. We've now got 3 sets of pilots flying who did not recognise. And the only one who did is this jump seat pilot. What do you make of it?
Well, let's go back to the fact that Boeing didn't even put that in the manuals for these operators that had this system, or basically the 737 with this MCAS system that we've all been talking about. So it starts there. These 3 flights, first of all, the first one that didn't, that returned safely, that was up at altitude, so that did help the situation. You've got a pilot sitting in the jump seat, something you're very familiar with, that has a much broader view of what's happening. Right. They didn't have a myopic focus, and once that airplane got on the ground with that problem that was written up as a discrepancy, the mechanics went together and electronically pulled what the faults were for the system and fixed it according to Boeing troubleshooting process. So that airplane wasn't going to be released until that problem was fixed, but apparently it was fixed, at least what we know about at this point in time. There's no verification of that, of course. And now you've got the crew on Lion Air.
If we pull the strands, though, together of what happened here, I mean, how does 2 brand new planes fall out the sky with other incidents, and Boeing still tells us they're committed to safety?
You know what? I wish I had a real good answer for you. I'm very disappointed in Boeing, I've got to admit. This is not their MO. They are very forthright with their systems. And this was modified, in a sense, as you described earlier in the introduction, because of the bigger engines and the way the airplane reacts to these bigger engines. So why Boeing did this? I don't know, but the FAA approved it through the certification process.
Les Abend, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Thank you.